Hello, welcome to the Gab and Jules show. No Gab Marketing. So look who's come down to be here with me. Nedum Onuoha, thank you so much, my man, to be here. Loads of things happen this weekend on the field, off the field as well. We had the World Cup draw, for example. We had a lot of big games in England, in Germany, in Spain, everywhere in Europe. But really, we have to start at Ellen Road and at Leeds. Not so much yet for the Leeds-Liverpool draw, another disappointing performance and result overall for Liverpool. But for what happened after in the mix zone and that Mo Salah interview.
Absolutely, yeah. By the way, we need to mention the World Cup draw is probably just about finished now. 3-4 days later.
Thank you guys for drawing all those goals.
Yeah, thank you. But yeah, what a
bombshell?
moment.
Would you say bombshell moment? How would you qualify it?
I would say bombshell, yeah. I think people were trying to use bombshell. And the reason it's significant is because for many people, in my opinion, they now have an idea of what the mix zone is. Because usually, like as a player, you have to walk through this area where all the written journalists and stuff are. But you usually just walk through with your headphones on, sometimes play music, sometimes not.
Yeah.
But if you're going in there and you're choosing to stop, you're choosing to stop for a reason because you don't have to do it. Yeah.
Exactly.
So
and you don't want to do it usually.
You don't. Nobody wants to say anything usually. Like most of the time when we see interviews, it's because people have to do it.
Yeah.
But in this instance, not having to do it, and the word was, I think it was Beth on FC was saying that as Slot was doing his press conference, that's when Salah was doing his thing at the same time.
Exactly, at the same time.
And then as soon as, Salah had said what he said, everybody starts picking it up.
Yeah.
So why did Mo Salah feel he needed to do that?
Do you understand his frustration as a former player of being on the bench 3 games in a row and not being used to it?
Yeah, absolutely. He's 100% not used to it because he's been one of the most significant players in probably Liverpool's history, not just like recent years. So I understand his frustration, but, I'll ask you the question. If you wanted to make a point, would you rather make it to the manager in private or out in the open? What would you do?
I think he should always be in private. But remember, this is a guy when he wanted a new contract last season and he was doing well, he kept popping up in all those post-match interviews and saying like, hey, I haven't heard from the club, I'm done this, but I would like to stay, but you never know, you don't know, he might be mad. He was very vocal and when he wanted to be. Then when he was not doing well and Liverpool were not doing well, we didn't hear anything from him. And then suddenly, because he's on the bench and he's not happy, he comes out and at a time where the club is struggling, the team is struggling, where you really should be supportive more than in a very selfish way thinking about yourself, then he comes out and drop that on them.
Which of the players of his status at Liverpool have been on the bench for 3 games in a row this season?
None.
So do you think...
But do you remember any player of his caliber on the back of not that long ago, he was receiving the player of the year for last season.
Yeah.
To have come out and do and say things like that.
No, I personally, I wouldn't want him to come out and say that in the mix zone. Yeah. I wouldn't want him to do that. I think there's something to be said about trying to express those emotions in private. And in fairness, we don't know if he's said that in private as well.
Yeah, true.
I think the biggest thing for Liverpool now is if they were off yesterday, for example, is how have they dealt with things today? As Salah parks his car up at the training ground, is the first thing he's got to do.
They're travelling to Milan today to play Inter tomorrow.
So they must have trained yesterday. So after you say the words that you say after the game, in fact, they're getting on a team bus together afterwards.
Yeah.
Salah's done that and he's decided, in my mind, that he doesn't care anymore. He's prepared to put this out into the open.
Yeah.
And whatever comes from it, he's ready for it. Maybe some of that's because he knows in a week he's going away.
Yeah.
Maybe,
which it is.
Yeah. Maybe less than a week now. Who knows? But I understand his frustration in some ways, just because, I think we were speaking just before it happened. And I said, I bet he feels like he's being made a scapegoat. And then, as if by magic, here comes the quote. Look at me, Salah's publicist. But I get it because.
But nobody has said he was a scapegoat, though. So that comes from his own head.
No, I think let's scoot back a month when Liverpool weren't doing great, and people are having discussions about Salah needs to be dropped.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when he then ends up on the bench.
Yeah,
I think it's always important to not just live and die by any particular moment, to look at, take a bit of a wider look back at things. And I think that's probably where it comes from, because he won't be somebody that's say not online or whatever. He would hear what people think.
True.
Because sometimes it's from prominent people who are on our airwaves and so on.
Ex-players and
exactly. Things. So I think the club would have known, or the players would have known, something needs to change. And if Salah's the one that's on the bench now for 3 games in a row, and as you mentioned, he's not come on for a single minute in 2 of those games, Like, if you were him, how would you not think you're a scapegoat?
True, but then if he's a scapegoat, would you publicly say like he did?
I wouldn't.
That in the players' union, where do you stand? Is it selfish? Is it unacceptable from him?
I think I'm gonna say something. I'm gonna caveat this. Yeah, for me, I think it's selfish.
Yeah,
but he's also played to a higher level, and more significant level than I've ever seen before in my time.
Yeah.
So I don't know how I would be thinking if I was in his exact situation, because for him to be the best that he ever has been, has it been down to sort of like the team mindset? Probably not. It's been him driving himself as an individual.
Yeah.
So the team can go through what the team goes through, but he obviously has his place and his thoughts about himself and his situation.
Yeah.
So personally, I'd be disappointed, because ultimately it's another issue. I think it was described as airing out your dirty laundry. This is another situation that you have to deal with, because Slot knows, say, when he's doing his next press conference, not only does he have to talk about the game that's to come, the game that's been, but now you have to talk about Mo Salah and why he's on the bench.
Yeah.
But what do you do next? Do you start Salah? Do you bench Salah? Do you drop Salah?
That's a great question.
Do you find Salah?
I know.
Do you make up with Salah? Like, somebody's going to be having an apology very, very, very soon.
Absolutely.
And it's either going to be with Slot picking him, or it's going to be with Salah saying he's made the wrong decision.
Those are all great questions. We will answer them all on the Gab and Jules podcast. So make sure you download that and listen to that. We will go through all the point that Mo Salah makes, and also saying that, come back a little bit on that Leeds Liverpool 3-3 draw, which for them would feel like a setback. Right, Nate, let's continue this incredible Salah chat and the reaction of this. That still, even if he said it on Saturday evening after the game, and we're recording this on Monday morning, so there's still very much like the biggest news really in English football, I would say. Arne Slot will have a press conference on Monday evening, so we haven't heard from him yet on what Salah said. Like you said earlier, surely he will be asked about his opinion, his reaction, and what. But before we go through the kind of Salah statement again, point by point, there's a few things I want to ask you about what he said. To answer the questions that you ask, if you were Arne Slot, or Richard Hughes, or Michael Edwards, or the Liverpool hierarchy, the owners, whatever, Virgil van Dijk, your club captain, what's next then? Can he really play again for Liverpool? Personally, I don't think so. I think there's AFCON in a week, so he was going to go anyway.
Yeah.
There's the game against Inter Milan on Tuesday. There's a game against Brighton in the league at Anfield on Saturday. Is it a question of we won't see him not even in the squad for those two games? Is he going to be on the bench? Is he going to start? Will they make peace? What do you think is going to happen? Or what would you do?
If I was Arne Slot, and this is like coming from a rigidly principled position. Yeah. I don't think I can even have him training, let alone be in the squad, if he thinks that's the way that it needs to be. Just for the message it sends, because if he is in some ways, he can come out and apologize, but I still think there needs to be a level of discipline that comes with it.
Sure.
Because you're trying to send a message and set the tone for everybody else. And if you end up having a rule for one and rules for others, I think it kind of misses the point. And so for him to Salah's come out and speak the way that he spoke, and whether, that's his perspective, he will be 100% right in his perspective to him always.
Yeah.
But the way in which you want the club to operate is where players will not do that if they feel that they should be playing games of football. Because if he does it and the next person does it and the next person does it, like, are you bigger than the club in itself? So we're trapped in that sort of like murky area.
And we know the answer is no.
Yeah, it should be no. It should be no.
It should be no.
It should be no.
Yeah.
And I've just had a flashback actually. How different, obviously some of the words are different, but how different is this to Ronaldo having an interview with Piers Morgan in 2022, just before he went to the World Cup with Portugal?
After him and United kind of parted ways.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's very similar.
He was still at United at the time, though, wasn't he?
He was, and he'd been benched as well.
Exactly. So I think I don't think you can play him. I think even if he apologizes, for me, I think it'd probably be easier to say to him, you can go to AFCON earlier if you need to. It's in some ways it's a fortunate thing for Liverpool to have that there. I think it's fortunate for Salah that he knows he's going away in 7 days.
Yeah.
I think for Liverpool it's fortunate they can try and move away from this issue in such a short space of time as well.
It's probably a good thing that they're playing so quickly after too.
Well, you say that, but it depends, because they might get their teeth kicked in as well.
Yeah,
and
true.
That's the problem.
But at least you move away a little bit from. I guess no.
You will always talk about it. He's so big. You'll always talk about him.
He's too big. He's
too big to ignore. The only way you wouldn't talk about Salah is if he was injured. But if he's available and he doesn't play, that's always the storyline.
I think there will be they have to find him too financially. I know
totally agree.
money is nothing because the guy is so rich and makes so much money every week. But from a club's point of view, in terms of values that you have, in terms of probably even some clauses in players' contract about attitude, behavior, what you can say, can't really say, and we will go through the Salah statement now. This is not, from a club's point of view, it's not acceptable.
You got absolutely, yeah. If you wanna set the club off on the right sort of footing, you have to have standards in place which everybody adheres to. Yes, you can have somebody that's a superstar as such, but it doesn't mean that they pull in their own direction whenever they need to. You know, like to do it in Salah. Like, I get it. Salah's upset. You know, if I was in his position, I'd probably be upset. If I was of his status, I'd probably be upset as well. But Salah barely speaks.
Yeah.
So for him to come out and speak, what's the benefit? What is from him saying what he said? Who has benefited from it? Because it's not him. It's not the football club.
No, but well, you say it's not him.
It's not him.
But I think he wants to leave the club.
Yeah, that's fine. But he's not left yet.
No, but this is, for me, this is it. I'm off now. Otherwise, he would have not. I don't think he would have come out like this.
Well, maybe, but unless he knows for a fact that he's got somewhere that he will go, then it's an awkward return.
It
after
is,
saying
maybe.
something like this. Because with fan bases, and we can even use a recent example of this Liverpool one.
Yeah.
Like, look at the way that some of them turned on Alexander-Arnold.
True.
So if you can do it to him, why would they not do it to Salah? On this Monday morning now that we're recording, if there's going to be a discussion amongst Liverpool fans about what Salah said, how many people will be prepared to support him? Because in some ways, if you support him, you support him more than the football club.
Yeah, true. But then even if you kind of blame him for it, which is fair, and I think 90% maybe of the Liverpool fans would do that. I think he did it like he talked a lot last season to get the new contract. I think he came out in a mixed zone where he didn't have to stop because he didn't even play a minute. Like you said as well when we were preparing for the show, at the end of that Leeds game, when he didn't come on, went to the away fans, the away stand, and was saying like goodbye, as in like, oh my God, like Emiliano Martinez did at the end with Villa, and then didn't get his move and then stayed. However, I do think that Salah's probably got a point where he's like, this is it now. I've had enough and I'm going.
Do you think 3 games on the bench should be the breaking point for any player?
No, but I think, and we go back to his statement. So a few of the big things he said was...
With a lot of them, by the way.
Yeah. The club's throwing me under the bus. They made me promises when I signed a contract, and clearly those promises were not hold or given.
Do you want to go through these one by one?
Yeah, let me recap them all for you, and then we go one by one.
Okay.
I used to have a great relationship with the manager. Now I don't have a relationship with him at all. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Someone doesn't want me at the club anymore. I'm not the problem here. So I will ask you from a teammate's point of view. And Virgil van Dijk.
Yeah.
Especially. And then his own future. You know, I've told my mum to come to the Brighton game. I don't know if I'm going to play, but I'm going to make the most of it. Blah, blah, blah. All of that. Let's start with the club has thrown me under the bus.
He said, did he say someone at the club?
Someone, yeah.
Yeah.
As he's go back to the scapegoat kind of feeling.
The discussion this season, in my opinion, has been one whereby Salah, by comparison to where he was last year, has been nowhere near as good.
Yeah.
And people have not decided, but they've pondered whether for the way he's playing, was a problem.
But do you think he feels like the club should have protected him, i.e. slot, maybe another player, maybe somebody higher than club, the slot? I don't know, because when he says like they throw me on the bus, I've been criticized, they didn't defend me, and then they put me on the bench, and then they left me on the bench, and then they left me on the bench again.
Yeah. I think if the leaving on the bench thing, I think is interesting, and I don't know if we necessarily agree on this, but like, in what scenario in any game state would Salah not come on off the bench? You know, whether they're winning, losing, whatever.
We discussed that.
He's one of the most experienced players, so surely he's a value somewhere.
So Galatasaray, which was the first time he benched him in the Champions League, and I think a lot of people thought, okay, it's a rest. He hasn't done too well. They've got a game in the Premier League the weekend before, then midweek Champions League, then another game. But Galatasaray, they don't play well.
Yeah.
They're not very good with the ball, and he stays on the bench the whole game, and then he kind of like storms into the tunnel straight at the end
he's not
to
used
go
to
back.
it.
He's not used to it. So already you could have thought then, weird, because, okay, you can bench him, but then you're 1-0 down, bring arguably your best player on to try to come back into the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
He didn't. This game against Leeds, like I said to you in our messages on Saturday, I felt when they're 2-0 up, you don't really need to bring him on, especially if you
But
don't
he still
want
could
to.
though.
Yeah, he could.
Yeah.
But clearly he
Doesn't
didn't want
want
to.
to.
Yeah, because
That's the
he could
point.
have done it against West Ham as well.
Yeah. And that, for me, that's the thing that's interesting. Having seen this myself through my career, if you don't want to bring somebody on, don't put them on the bench.
Yeah.
So if
Because it's even more humiliating, right?
Exactly, yeah. And not every player will feel humiliated. Well, I'll be honest, every player in some way will feel humiliated by not getting any game time.
Yeah.
You could maybe say a second choice goalkeeper doesn't,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
for other
yeah.
people, you spent days preparing for this game and all you're doing is just basically being a cheerleader.
Yeah.
That's a humbling
Yeah,
experience.
Yeah.
And he's obviously not
And
used to
even
that.
more for him, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. He never does that. He's
Yeah.
someone that'll be walking off the pitch at the end, clapping fans because he's essentially done so well. So I don't understand why Slot would put him on the bench if he's not going to play him.
Yeah.
Because it'd be
I
very
agree.
easy to just put him on for, even if you put him on as a central striker, put him on wherever.
Yeah.
Because if I was a Leeds player and I saw Salah coming on, I'd be concerned.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't understand that angle of it, to be honest.
What about those promises thing? Because we hear that a lot from players. And I'm not
Waffle.
sure if when
I'm
you
not
sign
on
a
board
new
with that.
contract, it's...
Have you ever, like...
And I link the promises
Yes.
with something that I've forgotten already. When he said, I don't need to earn my place in this team. I should start every game because I've earned it already.
Yeah, that's big talk.
That's big talk,
That's
right?
big talk, yeah.
And it's a bit BS too.
Yeah.
Whoever
100%.
you are, okay, maybe not Messi and Ronaldo, but outside of them two,
I think to put some balance in that from his standpoint, football at its core feels like a game where if you train well, you'll be selected on the weekend.
Yeah.
In reality, that's the case for maybe half the team.
Yeah.
But there's another half who will always play.
Yeah.
And this is why we can have the stories about players, for example, who are terrible trainers but play really well in games. So where he's coming from with that, I think that's the type of thing which you should be able to think but not say.
Yeah.
Because the arrogance that comes across when you say that
I agree.
is insane. Because ultimately, it's like saying whoever else could play on the right, it doesn't matter. Because I've done all this work, I will always
It
play.
should be me. Yeah.
Yeah, and if he was playing week in, week out and playing well and training really well, and then as well as that, it becomes the example.
Yeah.
I think that level of like mental complacency to where you expect to play anyway, I think that's somebody missing the edge as such.
Yeah.
And for him to come and say that, again, this is one of the reasons why I think the club has to punish him. Because if somebody will say that and say the next game he's playing after he said that,
Yeah.
nah,
I agree.
that sets the tone in a really, really terrible way, in my opinion.
So that links before Slot. He also said, "I'm not the problem here. I.e., I don't understand why I'm
Name
benched
names
because
then.
I'm not the problem."
Name names.
If you're his teammate,
Yes.
and even if you're, one of his closest in the dressing room, and he will have some proper buddy, as you know,
Yeah.
everybody is super close. But
Yeah.
how do you react?
I think, firstly, people, because you spend so much time with your teammates, you know when someone's unhappy. They can't hide it, yeah?
Yeah.
They cannot hide it.
Yeah, definitely.
Whether it's the way that they try and train in, times that they turn up, are they leaving earlier? Are they
Yeah.
like looking a bit more disgusted? Are they quieter? Are they
Yeah.
louder? So I think for him to say, I'm not the problem, like, who's the problem then?
I know.
I think Slot was a bit guilty of this earlier in the season. Do you remember when he wouldn't name Frimpong, but
Yes.
against Crystal
At
Palace?
yeah.
But just describe the person that was playing right back for him in the game, making some mistakes. Yeah, I'm not going to name names,
No, man, but he's
the
that
new signing who's
short,
a right back,
quick,
short,
on the right.
Yeah, I think he was in Germany last year, but I'm not going to tell you who it is. I think again, all these words that Salah uses, he's using them for a reason or whatever,
Yeah.
and he doesn't think he's the problem. That's fair enough, but no person will ever think they're the problem.
Yeah.
But then in the same breath, after him saying that, he has now become the problem.
Yeah.
Because as a player, when you come into training and you see him the next day, are you going to carry on like everything's normal? Hey, Mo, did you have a good night last night?
Yeah.
Are you ready to train? Should we go and do this? No. All of a sudden, there's this cloud that's over everything. And whether it's his football inside, this is just the actual side now.
I don't know if you can, and I'm putting you on the spot, so I'm sorry, but had you had at any time in your career something a little bit similar, or suddenly where that one player come the next day at training and it's a bit
outspoken.
awkward in that dressing room, it's a bit awkward with the manager because it's the elephant in the room and everybody knows you've said that, but nobody's really addressing it. You don't really talk about it. So it's there, but it's not really there. And it's so weird.
In terms of controversies like that, I've probably had it more so with managers or like there's a Scouse midfielder I used to play with.
Yeah.
He would regularly be saying things which would cause issues, to be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, nothing to somebody of that level, not to somebody of that sort of like scale and level of importance. Because like for us on this side, it's a lot easier for us because they played the game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He said what he said, and then we'll just see them on Tuesday.
Yeah.
You literally have to. Salah got on the team bus with the team.
Yeah, to leave.
You know what I mean?
Come back from
yeah.
Leeds to
Unless he's
Liverpool,
got a car or whatever. Let's forget that.
No, I don't think so.
So let's forget that then. So you arrive in training on Sunday, and you as a player know every word of what he said.
Yeah.
And you're going to try and carry on like everything's normal, whilst also adding in the fact that they've dropped more points.
Yeah.
That is so awkward.
It's so
awkward. Because only certain players, because I think Salah's revealed where he holds himself by how he's described himself at Liverpool. Yeah. So who's he going to listen to? How many players at Liverpool could pull him to the side and say, Mo, you shouldn't have said that?
Only Virgil?
Only Virgil, maybe.
Maybe.
But Virgil might know what Salah's like if you do try and pull him to the side.
True.
So it doesn't matter for you as a player what you think. You could think what he's done is the worst thing on planet Earth.
Yeah.
Who's going to say anything? The answer, nobody.
Okay, if you're Slot, then now going back to this, I used to have a good relationship with the manager. He says the manager, he could have said, on the Slot, maybe not. But then he said, now we've got no relationship whatsoever. If you Slot, do you call him in first thing in the office on Sunday morning and said, listen, because for me, one of the key here from a Liverpool point of view is to act quickly as well. Because otherwise, this kind of brew, and then it makes it even more awkward, more difficult to deal with. You've got this Inter game on Tuesday night, and if they lose, they're still going to finish top 8. But if you get spanked 3-0 in Milan, then it adds even more to this kind of crisis situation that you have already a bit in a way. So act quickly. On Saturday night, I would have expected Slot, Hughes, Edwards, whoever they want, to have had a chat and said, this is what we're going to do. Sunday morning, Mo Salah comes into the training ground. There's a meeting with Slot, Michael Edwards, Richard Hughes, all the big deciders there. And they said, what you said is unacceptable. We don't understand it. We're going to find you a week wages, 2 week wages, a month wages, I don't know, whatever. We'll ask you to train on your own with the fitness coach. I don't know. I'm just saying this possibility. But certainly act quickly. You're not going to travel to Milan. You're not going to be at the game against Brighton. If you want to go back to Egypt now, you can do whatever you want, but you're not part of this week of work for us.
I think what you said is right. Like, it has to be done swiftly, because for every second where you try and act like everything's normal is sort of like the breaking of the foundations of the football club.
Yeah.
I think in some ways they probably would have dealt with it on Saturday night.
Yeah, probably even,
Because there's no world where you say to Salah, I'll just come in on Sunday, we'll have a light discussion then. Yeah. You have to put things in motion, especially because you mentioned like the fact that there's a game in 3 days. Like, they're in the toughest part of the season now where they're games. You have to be getting ready for the next thing. This can't linger on. I wouldn't have been surprised if Salah was told to not come in on Sunday.
Yeah.
I think, if anything, they would have discussed it on Saturday night with him extensively.
Yeah.
Because why do you need to wait to the Sunday morning to tell him that the situation is a poor one? So if he's not been training, that wouldn't surprise me. And ultimately, even if he was to have apologized on Sunday morning, I still think it's too late to where he can't be punished. He has to be punished anyway.
Yeah, true.
That's my take on that. And also, I've got to say, the relationship thing.
Yeah.
Some of this, Salah's an incredible player. I don't know him as a person or whatever, but there's lots of stuff which he's doing which most people I know wouldn't do.
Yeah.
And one of those things is if he says he's got a poor relationship with the manager, one of the ways to deal with that is to go and try and speak to the manager more.
Yeah.
But it feels to me like there's a sense of pride that comes with, well, he's not picking me, so I'm not going to speak to him.
Yes.
Because all of a sudden that's when a relationship can break down. Because it's not like they would have been texting each other, being in communication all the time and so on.
No, that's true.
So if you think you've got a poor relationship with someone, ask yourself, why is that? Is it as simple as, well, because he's not picking me anymore? Well, if that's the case, that's because of you, not necessarily because of him.
Yeah. So we agree there's no future at Liverpool for Mo Salah, right, after all of this?
I
don't know where he could go. Saudi Arabia seems the most obvious, especially on the money he's on.
I think it would need to be like a massive apology, for this to turn around. But also, would he be making the massive apology because he means it, or because he's trying to save himself some money?
Yeah.
And I think the Saudi Arabian thing, again, Beth was on FC the other day, and she said, one of the problems with Mo Salah, and as is the case with lots of players to a certain extent through their careers, when you're at the right place, your age and your price doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But when you're in your mid-30s and you're in all the money that you're earning and you need to leave, all of a sudden the places you can go to get smaller and smaller and smaller.
Absolutely.
So I think maybe Saudi Arabia is going to be the right place for Salah.
And on top of this, Liverpool drew 3-3 at Anfield after being 2-0 up with 10 minutes to go.
And then
3-2 up with 2 minutes to go.
Oh, when it rains, it pours, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And football can be very, very tough. You know, we've seen some teams go from being really, really good to like having some of these like mini crises and so on. But it's the nature of some of these defeats. And I think this is the same thing I said with City last year. When you're down as a team, the teams you play against are up.
Yeah.
Because they believe they can get something from you. If Liverpool were at their absolute best, Leeds probably wouldn't have been throwing everything at them.
Absolutely.
Because it's like, well, what's the point? But now people know that there's a weakness there, there's a flaw. Some players aren't playing to their absolute best.
Yeah.
So don't give up until that final whistle's blown.
Yeah, I agree. That was a bad result from a Liverpool point of view. Credit to Leeds as well and Daniel Farke, because that's the win against Chelsea and the draw against Liverpool.
And they were,
I've
got to say, they were very, very good against Man City in the second half.
They were very good in the second half, where they came back to 2-2 and then obviously considered that like goal. So credit to Leeds for that. And for Liverpool, as we've been saying, between Mo Salah and the result, things are really, really bad. And now it's Inter Milan in the Champions League on Tuesday night.